largely due to the family reasons, but quite simply couldn't sit on the sidelines.
Wow, the news today. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Matt Genereux crossing the floor to the Liberals, and it's not just him crossing the floor, but how he crossed the floor, the history of all this, and well, this is going to become rocket fuel for Alberta separation. This is absolute madness. Let's jump into this. We've got Matt Genereux betraying Conservatives and betraying himself, crossing the floor to join Mark Carney. We got Pierre Poilievre posting this. Mark Carney is trying to seize a costly Liberal majority government that Canadians voted against in the last election through dirty backroom deals. Matt Genereux betrayed the people of Edmonton Riverbend, who voted for affordable food and homes, safe streets, and a strong resource sector. Conservatives will continue our fight for a Canada that's affordable, safe, and self-reliant. And we have a bunch of stuff coming out with this, as Levant pointing out. He's locked down his X account. Of course he has. This guy's betrayed his constituents, and now he doesn't want to answer to them. This is a weak man. As he says, when you've locked down your X account, it's a sign you've known you've done something horribly disreputable. Jasmine posting this. Here's the letter he posted today. As I wrote to constituents in Edmonton Riverbend late last fall about my service in Parliament, I recalled how I ran in the election because I believe that Canada stands at a turning point. The events of the past year, even of the recent weeks, have presented Canada with unprecedented new global pressures on our prosperity and accelerating threats to our sovereignty and unity. Like so many families across Canada, over the holidays and since, my family's had several conversations around the kitchen table about how we best be there for each other and stand up for the country we all love. This is all bullcrap, dude. We know what this is. This guy completely backstabbed his constituents because what? He wants to keep his big paycheck? We're going to get to it, but it looks like he's backstabbed a charity as well. Those conversations have been honest, difficult, and deeply personal at times, but they also led me to reflect on the gravity of the moment that our country is living through, which our Prime Minister addressed head on in a speech in Davos. So we've got a clip of Genereux talking, and he mentions Davos. Apparently that changed everything for him. After further reflection with my family and conversations with colleagues and constituents, I will be continuing to serve in Parliament, thanks ChatGPT, and I'll be working with the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, as part of the new government to help build our country's strength as we face the challenges ahead. So here he is sitting down. Mark Carney flew over to Edmonton just to do this photo op. This is how he spends our money. This guy's such a loser. This guy does not care about us whatsoever. He will just drain our bank account dry just for this image here.
Well, thank you everybody for coming here to a cold day in Edmonton, but especially you, Prime Minister. It is a real pleasure to have you here in Edmonton. You're always welcome in Edmonton, and we have a lot of history, both of us here in Edmonton, and it's a beautiful part of our country. So I had announced my resignation back in November, largely due to the family reasons, but quite simply couldn't sit on the sidelines after seeing what the Prime Minister was ambitious agenda he was undertaking across the country and across the world. And quite honestly, it was the speech in Davos where you took everything head on, and I think for me that's where a lot of the world changed. I think it opened a lot of eyes for Canadians, Albertans, Edmontonians, just how serious this national unity crisis truly is. And it's for me, it felt disingenuine and quite simply wrong to be sitting on the sidelines anymore. So I reached out to the Prime Minister's office, and will be joining his caucus, and I couldn't be more proud to do this. Excellent.
He couldn't be more proud to backstab the constituents that voted him in. This guy has no honor or credibility, and we're about to expose that right now.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. You got work to do, right?
So no questions. Yeah, we have work to do. Carney flew all the way over there just for that. So moving ahead here, as Brian Lilly points out, apparently, like others Carney has recruited, Matt Genereux spent enough time with his family. Same thing with Sean Fraser. All these guys are greedy shills. The Conservative MP has come out of hiding to announce he's a Liberal. Now, what's very interesting about Genereux is he hasn't voted in the House of Commons for a long time. He's still getting paid a ton of money. He's just not doing his job. And so we've got HOC staffer posting this. Genereux has not voted since November 5th, 2025. As in nearly 3 months, he hasn't voted. The day before he announced he will be resigning at some point as MP. He's been basically MIA since then. How does he start showing up and voting again now that he's joined the Liberals? This should be against the law. He should be thrown out of office. This guy isn't doing his job. He should lose his job. He can't just like, well, I need to spend time with my family. I'm just going to take some time off. That's not how this works when you're being paid $200,000 a year. And not only that, what did he say with all that? The travel was too much. His wife lives in Victoria. She's an oncology surgeon, one of the hospitals in Victoria. So he essentially lives in Victoria with his wife there. Yet somehow he's representing Edmonton Riverbend. And so what did he announce back there? We got people digging up everything. His own words, Matt Genereux, to donate salary to local charities. This was back in November 7th. This is just after he announced he's going to resign. Dear Edmonton Riverbend, this year since my announcement to resign, I will be donating my salary I received since November 6, 2025, the day I announced my decision, to a number of local charities in the community. So is that what he's doing? Has he donated that money? As this guy's pointing out, that's $58,000 since he announced he resigned. Did he donate the money to the charity, or did he just post that for some good public perception, or is he stealing that money back from the charities he was going to donate that to? As he says, let's see the receipts. Yeah, let's see the receipts. Everyone start blasting this out. Let's see the receipts, Genereux. Did you donate $58K? We even have Jason Kenney chiming in on this. This is very disappointing. Matt has been elected as a Conservative 6 times, twice provincially and 4 times federally, most recently less than a year ago. A Liberal has never been elected in his riding in Edmonton. Never. He's broken this historic tradition of a Liberal never holding that riding, and now he's flipped. Oh, it's my constituents. They want this, right? No, they don't. There's no way he can say that. So this runs against the clear direction of his constituents. This also contradicts his announcement 10 weeks ago that he was resigning to spend more time with his family. It's basically clear as day that Matt Genereux is a chronic liar. He lied to Canadians. He lied to his constituents. Did he lie to the charities that he was going to donate that $58K to? Here's Matt Genereux in 2023 talking about the Liberal crime wave.
Mr. Speaker, Edmonton's violent crime rate has increased 16.5% in just 12 months. And in 2022 alone, it represented the highest number of violent criminal incidents ever reported in a single year. The even scarier part, Mr. Speaker, this trend has carried into 2023, with violent criminal occurrences increasing by 6% in the first quarter of this year compared to the first quarter of last year. In fact, we're seeing a 68% of violent offenders who were arrested and released become involved with the police again. These are the highest rates of crime in our city's history. This is why organizations across the country are calling for bail reforms to keep violent offenders behind bars. After 8 years of the Liberals' catch and release crime policies, Canadians don't feel safe walking down the street or taking transit. In fact, Mr. Speaker, what's even scarier is that these policies are just making it worse.
Now, so what changed here? Crime's still just as bad. We got this guy here, Brad, commenting on this, saying this is a historic betrayal of Albertans. Matt's riding has been voting Conservative every single federal election since the riding has ever existed, and long before that. After 10 years of Liberals alienating our province, he's going against the will of his voters and joining him. This is going to absolutely put powder keg to the Alberta separation movement, without a doubt. This is a complete betrayal of the people of Alberta. It's a complete betrayal of Conservatives across Canada. Matt Genereux is morally bankrupt. He's enabling Mark Carney, unethical conflict of interest banker, to personally enrich himself. It is absolutely deplorable what he's done here. Let's just break down the seats here. So they went down to 168. Now they're back up to 169, the Liberals. And well, they've lost Bill Blair and Chrystia Freeland, but those are both safe ridings, which puts them back up to 171. Nate Erskine-Smith will step down. They'll get that one back. So then really their push here is to get Laurie Illuit of the NDP to join, because then that will put them at 172. Because the other riding in play here is Terrebonne, which the Liberals just lost that seat, which dropped them to 168 just a few days ago. So going on Shreya Teeth's website, Polywave, we have the Terrebonne riding here, which shows it projected 91% chance that the BQ are going to get this riding, only 8% for the Liberals. And you can see the numbers here. They're pulling at around 44% versus 34% for the Liberals. So the Liberals will lose this seat, which means they don't get that majority once again. But if they're able to flip Laurie Illuit, there's other rumors of another Conservative that's going to flip, then that would get the shaky majority government of 172, meaning everyone has to vote for Carney to pass stuff. If one person's sick or one person's out of connection or whatever it may be, then they don't get stuff through. And it could happen the other way too. Someone can flip over to the Conservatives or NDP or whatever. But I mean, really, this floor crossing stuff shouldn't happen. You can't just take votes from one side and then flip and go to the other side. This should be against the law. It should just be resign and it goes to a by-election. Like, this crap has to end. Our system is so completely broken where our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, has more conflicts of interest than any other Prime Minister ever, more than all other Prime Ministers combined in Canadian history. His conflicts of interest screens are hocus pocus nonsense. The blind trust is absolutely ridiculous. Duff Conacher already blew that one wide open. Those stocks aren't getting sold. They're not being put into something else. Carney knows what's in his blind trust. Once again, Carney is back at this, just trying to undemocratically pull over floor crossers because it's much easier than doing another election. And I'll stand corrected here. I thought this floor crossing thing was done, but apparently it is not. At this point, it looks like Carney doesn't want to go to an election because it's easier just to bribe people. We've got Ron Butler posting this. Here's what happens when you elect a banker as prime minister: government by transaction, particularly electing someone who's not spent a moment as an elected member of anything. Just bribe an opposition member to switch, offer him a special job or other perks. Why not? And is this how Carney's operated business at Brookfield? Is it just bribing someone to get something done? Is this what he knows? This is what's easy for him? Ron goes on to say this scumbag Mac Generu is now some special advisor, likely going to see some travel time and expense account bumps. So this lines up with Generu living in Victoria. If he's got an expense account or he gets extra travel time to be able to stay and live in Victoria while somehow representing the Liberals of Edmonton. Are you kidding me? Smartest guy in the room who could not care less for any parliamentary tradition. For this PM, paying members to cross the floor is just a deal, just a transaction. Ask yourself this: if you voted for a candidate who won a seat, would you think it's okay that they are for sale? That's just it. Parliamentarians are for sale in Canada. This system is just full of bribery and corruption. What's the point of voting if you can just keep crossing the floor? So Ron lays this out very straight here. We got Scott Reed chiming in on this.
Let's be crystal clear. This is a gut punch for the Conservative leader, an absolute gut punch. Yesterday, he's dealing with Jamal Giovanni, breaking ranks and making eyes with Donald Trump. Today, he's having to manage a floor crossing that has been months in the making. And obviously behind the scenes, that tells you that Pierre Poilievre has not been able to patch up his relationship with Generu. He's not been able to strap him to the deck. He's not been able to keep him in the fold. He is gone. You
know what's crazy about this whole situation? The initial video that CPAC released, there were some audio problems at the beginning when Carney was talking, and now they've released a full video here. Matt Generu met Mark Carney at the airport, YEG. They met in a boardroom at the airport.
How are you, man? Thanks for coming. Good being in it. Always great to be in Edmonton, the city of champions here. Today, and I well, I heard it was minus 50 with the wind chill yesterday. It's minus 47. Yeah, with the wind chill today. So we're heading in the right direction. It builds character. Grow up here. It builds character. That's exactly right. I can remember the cutoff was minus 25 for hockey. Right.
He flew into the airport to sign this, and then off he goes back to Ottawa. Crazy. Moving ahead, we got more bombshell news from the PBO and from British Columbia. Got Franco Terrazzano posting this: federal bureaucracy cost taxpayers $71.4 billion last year. That's an 80% increase in 10 years. Compensation for full-time federal bureaucrat is now $143,000. The number of bureaucrats increased last year to 447,000 of them. This is insane. This is why we are broke. Look at this increase, 80%. It's time to cut all this government spending. And with that said, we have outrageous news coming out of British Columbia. David Eby, the worst premier in Canadian history, has just put up a $13.3 billion deficit for 2026-27, largest in the province history. He took a $6 billion surplus from John Horgan and turned it into what was $11 billion. Now it's a $13 billion deficit. This man is an absolute menace to the people of British Columbia and Canada for actively blocking pipelines. And we're going to run through this here real quick because this is an important lesson for all Canadians, what socialism does to a province, because that's how he's running this place. So as Mark Nixon pointing out here, $13.3 billion deficit, 4 credit downgrades in 4 years, and David Eby has doubled the deficit in 4 years from $89 billion to $155 billion just for a province. And as he says on top of this, you might not own your own land. That's right. First Nation land grabs because the province of British Columbia is not a serious place anymore.
The BC government is in search of money, and it's going to take more from your wallet. Budget 2026-27 includes an income tax hike from 5.06% to 5.60% on the first $50,000 of earnings, an increase on average per person of about $76, $201 for those earning more than $140,000.
The pressures on government have been enormous, and we're experiencing impacts of the trade war that include reductions in revenue.
We have a budget this year that has $200 million less in revenue than they were projecting last year for this time this year, yet we have an extra $3 billion on the deficit that they were projecting. So they very clearly have a spending problem and do not know how to get themselves out of it.
A visit to the cobbler comes with a steeper cost. The provincial sales tax exemption for what the government calls clothing patterns is gone. Have a landline? You'll be paying PST on that. And there's more.
If you look at professional services, what they've included, it's engineers, it's accounting. Those are all major projects that require those kinds of services, but all businesses require those kinds of services. So the cost of business goes up yet again in British Columbia.
As for a letter grade, the Board of Trade gives the budget a D.
Which unfortunately is the lowest grade the Board of Trade has given the budget in the time that I've been with the organization.
The budget is big on
The lowest grade ever given to David Eby. This guy has to be thrown out of office immediately.
On spending. Education will see a boost of about $300 million. Healthcare always climbs, and this budget is up by more than $1.5 billion. But the head of the BC Nurses Union points out, so is demand on the system.
It translates to, in some regards, to a cut. So that's concerning.
Speaking of a cut, after growing it for years, the province is looking to trim the greater public service, which includes health authorities and school districts, by 15,000 full-time equivalents, or FTEs, over 3 years. Not through layoffs, but through attrition and retirement incentives. Premier David Eby's office will also undergo some belt-tightening, now with a budget of $15 million, down from 18.
You can start by trimming David Eby's salary, $227,000. So a few more details here. As it mentioned, accounting services now get PST. He's increasing PST on income tax from 5% to 5.6%, adding PST on accounting, bookkeeping, architecture, engineering, geoscience, non-residential real estate sales, security, private investigation, rental property, and strata management. And as it mentioned, there's an end of exemptions on materials used to make clothing, services for footwear, basic cable, landlines. He's increasing the cost of living when there's already a cost of living crisis. There's a food crisis coming from the federal government. David Eby is destroying this province through a socialist agenda. And what do we have? He's cutting the $10 a day childcare for new providers. It says province will pause enrollment of new providers into the operating funding model and the $10 a day childcare program. So these socialist policies are not working. It's bankrupting this province and this country. Our country is run by complete buffoons.